Hey, it's Rob Lightfoot, proud two-time alum of Rowan University.
And I'm Jessica Kennedy, also a two-time Rowan alum. And you're listening to
Beyond the Brown and Gold.
Rowan Radio 89.7 WGLS FM presents Beyond the Brown and Gold, a show that highlights the lives and memories of Glassboro State and Rowan University alumni. Now, here are your hosts, Rob Lightfoot and Jessica Kennedy.
On today's show, we have a WGLS alum from the class of 2009, Julia Lechner.
Yeah, it was a hard interview. She's so shy. We really had to work her. She was really tough to talk to.
She's pretty impressive. She has a bachelor's degree in journalism from obviously Rowan, a minor in Spanish, and international studies concentration. We didn't even get into all that fun. She comes from Pittman.
Yeah, right around the corner, and a family of educators.
Yeah, now she's on the West Coast.
Yeah, she kind of bucked the whole trend there.
Yeah, she's doing really cool things. She's a storyteller. She has worked at really amazing companies, including E! News and Paramount, and you'll hear all about Julia on this episode of Beyond the Brown and Gold.
So we always have fun alums, but it's always fun to bring back a WGLS alum.
I know.
Right? We're a little biased towards those.
Well, so many alums actually have the WGLS experience, so that's kind of speaks highly of the station, I think.
Yeah. So Julia, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be on.
And so you are well beyond the brown and gold. You're West Coast life right now.
Yes.
And before we find out how you sort of got out that way, we want to find out how you got down this way. So tell us a little bit about how you found Rowan University, where you grew up, where you hail from, and all that fun stuff.
Happy to. Well, I represent the commuter portion of Rowan University. I grew up in Pittman, New Jersey, so just one town over from Glassboro. And I come from a family of Rowan and Glassboro State alumni. So my grandfather was actually head of the English department many, many years ago at Glassboro State. His wife taught at an elementary school where Bunce is now located. I have several cousins, relatives that all went through, as well as my father, who got his education degree from Glassboro State and then his master's from Rowan University. And so a lot of family went there. And of course, because I grew up in a neighboring town, I remember going to Rowan as a kid to see jazz concerts with the bands at Rowan, musicals, sporting events. Like I felt like a Rowan student as a kid already. So it was just made sense naturally to go there when I was ready to go to college.
Did you even try to go to another school? Like was your dad having that or no?
They encourage you to send a couple applications out. So I put out 3 to 5 just to be safe. But I had a feeling that Rowan would be where I would end up.
And you said neighboring town. Which neighboring town did you grow up in?
In Pittman. So that's just,
you were real. Yes, you were
I
real
could
close.
walk to campus if I don't feel like looking for parking.
Pittman is the most fun place. I mean, obviously you grew up there, but I know it's even changed so much. Pittman is so fun. There's
a lot more to do now.
Yeah, there's so many great things. And I think something that's unique about Pittman now is I actually see students in Pittman, where I feel like when I was here, students didn't really venture out of the borough much, but I think there's a lot to take advantage of. So just a little Pittman plug.
We should start that as a little segment, Pittman plug.
Yeah, I like it. Maybe we could get them to sponsor the show.
Yeah,
just the whole town.
Or a tire shop or something like that, Pittman plug.
Yeah, I think that's great. So you commuted to campus. You had a short ride, obviously, and you studied communications, right?
I majored in journalism and am also the type of person who likes to sign up for so many activities. So I was pretty active around campus as well. As you mentioned, at the radio station, I wrote for the WIT, was in volunteering with Circle K. And I never knew, I didn't reveal this for quite some time. Actually, a lot of my friends didn't even know this when I was in college, but I was also the Rowan mascot. When I was at the university, I always wondered if it's something you keep secret. So only a couple of my close friends knew, and everyone else would just be like, why are you never at the football games? Not realizing that I was
at the football
dancing
games
on the field at halftime.
What was it like to don that costume all the time? You're our first I was the mascot person on the show. So what was it like in there?
It was a blast. And it's, one of those things where they sent out an email to the student body saying who's interested. And I wrote this really impassioned essay about school spirit and my dancing skills, and then get a response back like, hey, it's actually not a lot of people were interested, so you can be the mascot if you want. So I bravely signed up, got to dance around at orientations and football games. There was one other mascot at the time, and we would trade off responsibilities. And I actually had the opportunity to go to a Philadelphia 76ers game as the prof and play mascot basketball at halftime against other area mascots from professional, minor league, and college teams.
Oh, that is so fun. Were you nervous about that? I feel like I'd be like running around in the costume. You were probably used to it, but I feel like I'd be tripping. I would be so on a basketball court.
Well, yeah, it's because you're used to your feet. You're not used to additional feet.
Right.
I can certainly say I'm never hurting for like icebreaker facts when people ask for a fun fact about me because of that experience. I didn't realize until I ran out on the court when I was dressed like, how am I actually going to play basketball like that? Because I'm okay. I'm not NBA level. And you have these like fluffy hands with only 4 fingers and giant sneakers. And so I really just didn't want to face plant and end up as a blooper on ESPN for the rest of my life. And luckily it worked out. But I wouldn't say I was very good at that game of basketball, but it was entertaining.
I didn't think about the icebreaker thing. I think I'm going to use that because nobody would be able to tell me differently.
Yeah, nobody would know.
They would never know. I start saying I'm the mascot. I didn't see it on your LinkedIn profile when I was sort of like looking you up there for a while that was on there, but that's fun.
But Julia, they also named the mascot when we were here. That was like our time that, well, I was here 2004, 2008, so we overlapped, but that was when they did a call or a contest to name the mascot.
Yes.
And that's how around the time they got the name Who Are You? So that was a really special time to be the mascot.
Yes. And the mascot had glowed up a little bit before I donned it as well. Like the mascot's fierce. And I do believe previously when grandparents and parents were there, it was more of the studious owl. Yeah. So things have changed over the years.
Actually,
we like the fierce owl. I think the fierce owl's better.
Yeah. Did you ever recently, and I'm not sure when this will air, but there is a post on the Rowan University page where they have current students look at like the original prof costume and their reactions.
Well, did you see it?
It was so great. It is scary. It got sent to the alumni office because an alum donated it. They had it and they sent it to our office and we sent it to the archives, but it lived in like the alumni storage area for like, I don't know, a year. And every time it would be like, this thing is so weird. We got to get it out of here. So yeah, I think it did have a good glow up. Well, you were lucky.
Well, at least hopefully that rescued some of the relationship with your grandfather and father who were wondering what happened to the English and the education side of you. But you decided to go communication with us.
Yeah, it's my family are all teachers, so I think they were expecting me to possibly go the educator route as well. I did end up going for journalism, but the fortunate thing is I definitely notice in the role that I have, and I've kind of moved into being more of a people leader now in my corporate jobs. I do a lot of coaching, and I really like teaching and mentoring interns and early career professionals. So even though I did not follow the education route like my family did, sure. I feel like I get to do it quite a bit, which is awesome.
And what route were you looking to get into when you were saying journalism? What was your like ideal job? I'm going to Rowan. This is what I want to do.
I love talking to strangers and asking them stories. I'm comfortable doing that. I wrote for the school paper in high school and then at the WIT at Rowan. So I decided to go into journalism. I went to a career fair actually at Rowan and met an editor from the Courier Post, which is based in Cherry Hill. It's a daily Gannett newspaper, and got an internship with the Courier Post while I was still at Rowan. So I was really fortunate that, especially during that time, which was the recession back 06, 09 is when I was there. I interned at the Courier, got a part-time job as a reporter while I was still pursuing my bachelor's. So I actually got to hand in homework assignments sometimes that were also on the front page of the newspaper at my part-time job. And then when I graduated from Rowan, accepted a full-time position as a newspaper reporter with them.
It's amazing that you got a journalism job so quickly, because I think we did graduate at a very difficult time where it was just difficult to be employed pretty much anywhere. But that must speak to all the experiences that you got. And I think you did a great job. So kudos to you.
Well, at least hopefully that rescued some of the relationship with your grandfather and father who were wondering what happened to the English and the education side of you. And
that you had here. Any professors that really stand out in your mind?
I quite a few, and I'm actually still in touch quite a bit with Catherine Quigley, who's still with the journalism department. We are social media friends and stay in touch. And I was fortunate a few years ago. I do still visit the area regularly since I have family there, that I got to come in and speak to one of the journalism classes she was teaching. So it was really great to chat with students who are in the seats that I used to be in, and also at a very different time because journalism is always changing. When I was in the program, Twitter was a new thing, and we were talking about how do we use Twitter to, share news stories, and
people are still asking that, right? Like, how do we use this platform?
Things have changed. I was talking to students now about, hey, making your own TikTok or YouTube, et cetera, can also help you get your clips together. So things are very different than when I was sitting in those seats.
Now, we love the WIT and the other student groups on campus, but Jess and I are obviously a little biased towards GLS. We think that's probably the superior organization on campus.
One of the more.
If we're being completely biased. Talk about your involvement here. What made you sort of jump into the radio arena and sort of dip your toes here, and what you do here, because there's so many opportunities.
Yeah, well, I'm really comfortable speaking on mic.
We can't tell that. We can't tell that at all.
I know, she sounds so great.
And the thing for me, which was actually really fun with it, was I was a little nervous initially when I saw the call out to be on the radio station, and I met a few people through the radio, TV, film program who were at the station, and I wondered if the engineering portion of being at WGLS intimidated me a little bit. I didn't consider myself super techie, and I wondered if I would be able to do that. So it felt like a bit of a challenge signing up of, am I going to be proficient at also editing and doing all the various things beyond talking on microphone? And it was really fun to come in and learn it. And I ended up just like falling in love with the process, which was super great. I met a lot of great friends there and got to host a ton of shows. Honestly, one of the advantages of either being a commuter or close by on campus is anytime someone's on holiday or it can't get to the station, I was a regular sub because I truly lived 5 minutes away from campus. So in addition to doing daytime and nighttime shows, I also got to sub in to host the Women's Room, which was a talk show. I would sub in for Motown and oldies on Saturday nights, the blues show that came after me on Sundays, and inherited a show that was a soundtrack show on Sundays. So a lot of like Broadway and show tunes, etc. But I think I got to sub in or do nearly every program that was available at that time, which was super fun to figure out like, hey, I'm not a super big Fish fan, but today I'm hosting the jam band show.
Did you become a Fish fan at least? Did you like Fish at least?
Yeah, it was great. And actually, you know what? Hosting the blues show, which was hosted by another alum, and I would sub in for him on occasion, like made me fall in love with more blues music I wasn't familiar with. So it was really neat to get to sit in that chair and become the expert of those shows.
Jerry Friedman was that? Was that Jerry Friedman? Yeah, I remember.
Yes, it was.
I trained Jerry. That's why I know him.
Oh, really?
I trained Jerry at the station.
You know the whole station roster.
I do. It's all up in here.
I know,
all up
it's
in here. I don't have anything else up there, but everything else that's what's up there.
So you worked in Cherry Hill for a number of years. How long did you work there, and what did you do?
Yeah, between coming in as like part-time and then full-time after graduation, I was with the Courier for nearly 5 years as a reporter. Again, an interesting time. It was a time when newsrooms are consolidating and things were changing. I did get to wear many hats as a result as a communities reporter, which means I covered a bit of everything. Could be arts and entertainment, crime, local government meetings, all over the place in terms of coverage. And then got to a point in my mid-20s of, I'm not tied down. I want to try some different things. And my next career step, I think WGLS actually really set me up for this nicely, was I was a fan of a comedy podcasting network based in Los Angeles and reached out to them and pitched them essentially like, here's why you should hire me. I think I'd be great to work with you. And then I transitioned into podcasting by joining that organization, Earwolf Media, for a year, and also got to do a bit of podcasting again later during my time at Paramount. I hosted a podcast for TV Guide and hosted, produced, did the whole 9 yards. And I think, podcasting was relatively new at the time, but being at WGLS really gave me the confidence of, I know how to host, I know how to edit it, do the whole thing. And I have now been fortunate enough to get to work in podcasting as well.
So you were worried about that techie side, and look, you were doing it. You knew how to do it.
Yeah, and it was a good challenge. I think the great thing about being on campus is you get to try a bit of everything and figure out, do I see a career in this? Is this something I want to do? Which is why I think it's great to sign up for as many things as you can to figure out what your career path will look like.
And what was the show that was on the Earwolf Media that was like kind of drawing your attention? Curious.
It's a comedy podcasting network. So they do have shows like How Did This Get Made? There's a movie review show, etc. So just like goofy, fun shows hosted by comedians, some of whom you may have seen. And then when I was with TV Guide, I got to host a show about all those made for TV holiday movies that you see on Hallmark and Lifetime, which was super fun. So I got to bring in guests like Melissa Joan Hart and Ashanti and Candace Cameron Bure and talk to them about their holiday movies.
Listen, my husband loves a Hallmark movie, and he had a cutout of Candace Cameron Bure. He has it at his old job.
You sure you want to share this?
No, he's fine. He's a strong man. He's not concerned that people know that he loves Hallmark. But he has a little cutout that comes out every Christmas of Candace Cameron Bure, and it like sits on his work desk. His staff gave it to him because they knew like every Christmas season he loved it, and they would have TVs in their offices because he works in media, and he would just like have it on in the background. So they were like, "Oh, he loves Candace Cameron Bure." And listen, there is a niche for those movies,
I'm learning
right?
so much about him as we talk through these shows.
I know. You're going to text him later and tell him that you know this.
I am actually.
But there's a niche audience for these shows because if you're watching one movie, you're pretty much watching all of them. So did you have to watch everything? And
I did watch quite a few, which luckily I also have married a spouse now who loves made for TV holiday movies. So it's something we can share together every holiday season. It's honestly impossible to watch all of them because Hallmark alone makes 40 or 50, and that's just one network.
Yeah, that's kind of wild. So what did it feel like to move out to the West Coast? Did you have any friends out there? Where did you find I just feel like that seems so intimidating,
like that is a huge deal.
Yeah, I packed up my little Camry and talked myself into a job and a career change. I do have an aunt and an uncle who live outside of LA. So though wasn't living with them, I knew some people that I could go visit on the weekends initially, but I just felt ready to go on a new adventure and try something different. And the first few years were challenging at times. It's an expensive city. It's a place where I didn't know anyone. And I signed up for improv comedy classes at the Upright Citizens Brigade Theater pretty early into my time here. And that's how I met a huge group of friends that I still keep in touch with in LA. And also that led to me performing improv comedy and live storytelling for over the last decade. So it became just a way to try and meet other people and like be silly on stage. And it ended up becoming a hobby and something that I've done quite a bit of since I moved here.
Julia, I'm learning a lot about you being a wallflower and extremely shy in your approach to life and just kind of jumping into things.
Yeah. Were you always a performer, like even as a kid?
I did always enjoy performing. Yes. Granted, not improv comedy or some of the comedy shows I do now, but I'm confident doing it. It's super fun. And I'm one of the few people that if I'm on stage and someone's either laughing with me or at me, I like that. That's not my nightmare. So I think it's fun to go up on stage and be goofy and hopefully entertain people.
So with this sort of like general adrenaline chasing self that you have, what's something else you're chasing now? Like what else? You're doing something else. I know you're not just sitting around doing nothing. As far as something new that you're trying to dip into.
Oh, good question. I set some goals for myself storytelling, which was fun. Last year, I won the Moth Grand Slam storytelling competition, which was like a life dream of mine that I had. So now I'm looking to chase the next big goal there.
Fabulous. And I could relate to everything that you were saying in your story. And that was really cool. So very good. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. So yeah, in storytelling, I think the next thing I'm interested to explore is either writing a book of stories. I'm a big David Sedaris fan, or staging a solo show performance. So something where it's just me talking for 60 minutes, which hopefully people like me in longer form as well. And then beyond that, I think something I started doing recently, which I haven't shared with anyone else, so I'm glad you asked.
Here we go. Look, we're getting an exclusive.
I decided to dip my toes into becoming a YouTuber on the side. I've never made YouTube videos. I just wanted to learn iMovie, learn video editing. Again, probably learning to cut audio gave me the confidence to say, I'm going to try and figure out how to make YouTube videos. So it's not something I've been sharing with anyone yet. It's just been a new hobby I started this year to play around with, making YouTube videos about different topics and seeing if I enjoy doing it.
And what topics are you talking about?
It's been all over the place so far. It's been a bit of vlogging, like fashion and style, just things that I find interesting. My husband just got those Meta Ray-Ban glasses.
Oh, very cool.
That could be a fun thing to either review or look through, but just trying out different forms of it to see what would I want to do on YouTube and to get more confident with video editing.
I think we're going on, right?
Yeah, I think you could do makeup tutorials because you are shining. You are glowing.
Okay, I wasn't going there, but okay.
If you start doing makeup tutorials, I will be following because I haven't learned how to do makeup since I started wearing it in the 6th grade. So if you start doing that, you got to follow her.
I was going to more say that we're going on YouTube at some point.
Oh, yes. Not our faces.
Not our
just
faces.
Our voices. Yeah. The world's not ready for
I
our faces.
appreciate that. Of course, the downside of a makeup tutorial is I have to start with the before and then get to the after. So I just need to make sure I'm okay with that. But that's a good suggestion.
So let's get, so your career takes you from Paramount, and then after Paramount, where do we go next?
Did the podcasting with Earwolf. I was over at E! News for a bit with NBC Universal. So I kind of came back to journalism, but entertainment journalism. And following that was with Paramount for 6 years until more recently I joined Nextdoor.com, which is a neighborhood-based social media app. And I joined them about 1.5 years ago. I'm the kind of person that if I'm curious about something, that's sort of how I forged my career path. Like, this is the next thing I want to learn, or here's what I'm hoping to get out of this next position.
Now, you said earlier that you do some type of training, coaching or something like that. Can you talk about what that looks like?
It's primarily right now a bit more like working with direct reports that I have. So a few years ago, I decided that when I was with Paramount, I was interested in moving into a leadership role because I've always been someone who informally likes to mentor interns or early career professionals. So I sort of charted out what that path would look like. So I raised my hand and asked to be the person that would mentor and manage summer interns on our team when they came in. And then from there was able to turn it into moving into an editor or management role myself. So I managed a small team when I was at Paramount, and at Nextdoor, I've been fortunate to have, albeit we have a lean team of people, but I have a few direct reports in different areas. And I just really like coaching people, finding out what their future career path looks like, and then figuring out projects and learning opportunities to hopefully help them get to that next role that they'd like to have. Because I'm really fortunate that I had a lot of great mentors in my career that I liked learning from. And I'm now at the age and the point, the chapter in my life where hopefully I can now do that for people who are in the shoes I used to be in.
Do you have any, I know it's sort of like off the cuff here, but do you have any fun stories you can tell us from Nextdoor? Was there like any unique quippy stories that you can kind of share with us?
I've had the chance personally to do some really fun and unique things with the role. Last year, I actually got to go up on stage at the opening bell ringing at the New York Stock Exchange, which was super unexpected surprise with my job. In terms of stories I've seen on platform, I really like some of the heartwarming stories I've been able to find. Last year, there was a centenarian, so someone turning 100 who really loved dogs. And so his family posted on Nextdoor saying, our father is turning 100. Will everyone come bring their dogs through the neighborhood so he can see them and pet them? And it turned into this dog parade, essentially, where like over 200 dogs came and people lined them up in the neighborhood and would bring them by, and he pet every single dog. And that was how he wanted to celebrate his 100th birthday. Wow. And it's something incredible that like got picked up by national news and people were sharing it on social, but also was just a really sweet way to see how a neighborhood came together. People who didn't even know him that just wanted to make his birthday really special. And also I was like, I didn't know that was an option. That's like a dream birthday request. So hopefully if I make it to 100, I can also put that ask out for mine.
I don't think you have to wait.
Yeah, I think you should do it.
I think you can do it whenever you want.
I'm going to order that for you.
No, thank you.
Yeah,
okay.
you
I
okay?
would just be sneezing, getting hives. It'll be disaster.
No, it's
okay. I'm allergic too, but I'm obsessed with pugs. So it's just something I've accepted that I will sneeze, but hug them regardless.
Yeah, some people are always like, well, why don't you just get a non-hypoallergenic dog? I'm like, do I have to be sneezing in my own house?
no,
I don't know.
you don't want to chance that. Don't risk it.
Yeah.
Don't risk it.
No, but the 60-minute thing that you want to do you think you want to do like comedy for that long? Is that kind of the route you're thinking of how you want to be on stage for 60 minutes?
It is a fun, different challenge. There's a few, and that's one of the wonderful things about living in Los Angeles, though there's other cities where you can do this, is I can see almost any art form or approach to something. So I've been really fortunate to be able to see other friends of mine who I met through improv and comedy stage their own solo shows, and they can look super different for everyone. The storytelling I do, again, is very similar to The Moth, if people have heard The Moth. I usually try and tell funny stories on stage, sometimes with a little bit of like poignancy to it, sometimes just super goofy. But I foresee it being a 60-minute solo performance that is storytelling based. So I probably won't be pulling out like character costumes like on SNL. I'll just be sharing different stories from my life. So looking to see what thematic approach I'd like to have, if it's a certain chapter of my life or a certain topic, and then taking people through it. So, and one of the fun things about doing live storytelling as opposed to stand-up comedy is I really like sharing personal stuff from my life. I'm not embarrassed, like talking about a bad date that I've been on or anything else. And there's less pressure because in stand-up, you have a setup and a punchline. If someone doesn't laugh, it's really obvious. In storytelling, it's just a nice bonus if people laugh. Yeah. Otherwise, you're just telling a really good story.
Now, we have a little theater here in Pittman. I don't know if you know about that one that you could use maybe for this little routine.
Yes, the Broadway Theater.
Yeah.
I've spent a lot of time there. I would love to perform in Jersey or Philly as well and take it on the road. It'd be fun to have people I know be able to see me perform on the West Coast.
Now, your West Coast life, don't tell me you like that life better than this East Coast.
I am a woman divided. And it honestly comes through in a lot of my stories, which a lot of people will come up and say, I love when you tell stories about Jersey Julia on stage, because I have quite a few stories where I'm trying to fit in on the West Coast, but my New Jersey energy comes out. So I'm still very true to my roots. There are good things in both places, but that's why I do love visiting home, because the Jersey energy and the Jersey people are my people. But I've come to LA for career opportunities. I met my spouse here. And again, I do get to do a lot of fun things here. I don't miss winter weather sometimes. It is nice that it's a little warmer here, but my heart is still in Jersey for sure.
Now, you're my favorite kind of person. So my favorite kind of person is somebody that grew up on the East Coast and then moved west, because I think you get the best personality traits of both coasts. Like all the good things about the West Coast, like being a little bit more relaxed and easygoing, like you have that, but then you also have that like drive and determination and a little bit of grit from the East Coast. So I feel like when you got those two coasts in one person, that is like, in my opinion, you're like the perfect kind of person. I love it.
Do they appreciate it out there as much as she does?
That is so kind of you to say. I honestly don't know, even though I've been here over a decade. I don't know if I have the California energy. I feel like I'm just trying to push the Jersey into California.
As you should.
Yeah.
As you should. So your spouse, obviously not a Rowan alum.
He is not. He is from Wisconsin, and we met in Los Angeles. So we do have a lot of things in common. He actually found his old cassette tapes from his college radio days recently. We were listening to his time on it. So it turns out we had a lot of the same hobbies. We just didn't grow up in the same states.
Was his college radio station back-to-back station of the year for the last 2 years?
I'd have to ask, but I'm going to guess no.
No, well, I don't want to say anything, but you got a leg up on her.
Yeah, that was reserved for WGLS.
So are you back in the area often, you said, for family?
I do still have family in Jersey. My parents still live in Pittman, so I love visiting when I can. And my dad recently retired from teaching high school, and he is actually a part-time Sinatra impersonator, as all fathers are in New Jersey. Now he's doing a bit more of that in his retirement.
That
so
gives you a lot of content, I bet, that your dad does that, right? Like you could just use that in your bits and your storytelling.
Yes, I now know every Sinatra lyric. It has not helped me win bar trivia yet, but it is something that I can do. So yeah, I do visit a few times a year, and it's still great to come back to the area.
Yeah, you've got to check us out. We've got a ton of transformation happening here on campus, a ton of new builds that I'm sure you're surprised by every time you come back.
It's phenomenal. I have been into the Chickies and Pete's on Rowan Boulevard. I love Rowan Boulevard. My husband he loves his college experience too, but he insisted on going to Barnes & Noble on Rowan Boulevard, and he bought some Rowan gear. Oh. So now we both have Rowan gear that we can wear together.
Oh, I love that. That's so cool.
And the crab fries come with cheese. He's from Wisconsin, so you got to think there's that cheese connection.
Yeah. Do you have spare time to do things? I mean, I feel like you're filling up all your spare time with, trying to storytell and do all these great things, but like, what are you doing when you're not achieving? Because you're definitely a go-getter. So what are you doing when you're just winding down, and what's your happy place?
Well, I don't want to say mindlessly scrolling through TikTok, but I mean, I'm sure that's what people do when they're relaxing. I do the comedy in my free time. I love hiking. I like exploring different parts of LA and Southern California. So finding a new thing to go out and explore around the city, and just trying out new hobbies when I can to keep things interesting. So if I see something fun online, I mentioned pugs earlier. A few months ago, I saw a pug yoga class in LA, and I thought,
I must be.
And I'm not someone who goes to LA yoga classes regularly, but I was like, I have to do this. Of course, you don't do a lot of yoga. It's mostly pugs. But I'm someone that if I see something interesting, I like to say yes and jump in.
Well, that sounds like fun.
Do you have any advice? Because Rob and I often talk about this on the pod, that we were both in kind of creative majors, but neither one of us, I think, felt really super comfortable to explore anything really far from where we grew up. I think, what you've done and taking yourself to the West Coast is really admirable. Do you have any advice for students about kind of looking outside the box for opportunities or not in your area?
For moving for a career or a new career path, I will admit I was really fortunate that granted, I've switched careers several times since then, but I identified and was able to secure a role in LA prior to moving, which was really nice. There are quite a few people, and LA is sort of known for this, that people move to Los Angeles and hope to, make it big in a certain profession. And it happens for some, but not for all. It can be challenging. So I was really lucky that I was able to secure a position and then move out here and take the steps from there, though there's been, ups and downs since then at times between roles and seeking out what my next role will be. I think it really helps to just identify what you're looking for next in your life and your career, and also knowing it will completely change as your life moves on. So I knew that I wanted to be in a new place. I like being in a city because there's so many opportunities for all these interesting hobbies that I have, and to meet all different types of people from different walks of life. But you might discover midway through your career, you want to move somewhere else or be closer to family or have a different next step. So I think you just have to really reflect on and stay true to where you are at that point in your life. And many people, I'm a millennial who's had many careers. I think it's good to just know things are going to change. Because right now I'm working with technologies or platforms that did not exist when we were in college. And I'm sure that will continue to happen throughout the rest of my career.
Yeah, I have an author I listened to recently, or actually read, who said, be present, don't look back, and always go, look forward, you'll go in that direction. So find what you want, and then that's where the direction you go. If you're always looking backwards, you'll get stuck in the past or dwelling on what was or idealizing what was. Just keep moving forward and find your next thing. So it sounds like you're doing that and embracing that. That
is very true. Change is constant. So I think that's a good thing to be aware of and be prepared for.
Well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to bring you back to campus. We're going to throw that costume back on you.
Oh my gosh, yes.
You got to think there's got to be, and maybe I'm just spitballing here, but there's got to be 100, we're in the centennial year. There's got to be 100 people who have worn that costume. Maybe not that costume, but, have been the mascot.
Yeah. I know at least one other.
All right, so we've got to find the other 98.
I won't out them because like Julia said, I don't know if that's like something people talk about.
Oh, just like the fanatic. Yeah, you can't talk about them.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I don't want to put any pressure on it, but I will say I am so ready.
We can easily get it and make this happen.
Like a superhero, like with the bat signal, I am always waiting for someone to suddenly call me up decades later and be like, Julia, you need to put the suit back on. So just know I am so ready when you need me.
It's as easy as me putting in a very dated paper request with athletics. That's how easy it is.
Well, it sounds like we're making dreams come true.
I know. Well, it sounds like all your dreams are coming true. And really doing fabulous things and representing Jersey and Rowan on the West Coast very well. So we thank you for doing that.
It's my pleasure. Yeah. And thank you so much for having me and for spotlighting other alum. It's so great to see where everyone's paths have taken them. And it's wonderful to still be in touch with so many people from Rowan University.
Okay. Is there any part of you that when we interview an alum that like really traveled and went for it, that feels a little bit like, oh, I really should have done that?
Yeah, I think this was the first one.
Yeah,
because she's open to so many different opportunities.
Yeah,
like she takes things on and isn't afraid to just sort of jump right in and see what it's like and get messy with it.
When she said she packed up her car and then drove to I'm like, what?
Yeah, she left Pittman, decided to get out of the borough, get out of here, and move west.
I mean, just the drive alone would keep me enough.
Keep me here. You would be like, I am going, and then you'd hit like the Tacony-Palmyra Bridge, and you'd be like, no, I'm done.
I'm done.
This is too much. I'm so far from home. I couldn't possibly. Jess, you're only 30 minutes. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But no, she was great. And the fact that she highlighted how, the different experiences on campus here kind of helped her in her career going forward, and how she's doing new things like the YouTubing and the technical side of things. I thought that was fun.
We're going to be watching Julia because we know she's going to be up to great things.
And we're getting her back.
Yeah, definitely.
We're getting her back.
She's got to come here often.
The mascot. She's got to put that suit on.
All right, we can get it. I'm going to put in the request right when we leave.
You've been listening to Beyond the Brown and Gold on Rowan Radio 89.7 WGLS FM. You can find more episodes on your favorite podcasting platforms by searching for Beyond the Brown and Gold or Rowan Radio On Demand.